guys, my name's Chloe, otherwise known as Princess Aspian, and this is my mum Sarah.
Hi.
And welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a video. We had a lot of you requesting that I do questions and answers with my mum. So I have taken all of your questions from Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, all that good stuff.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means, and we're going to answer a couple of them. What age were you when you were first diagnosed? I think I was 12 when I was first diagnosed. And what age did your parents tell you about your diagnosis and how did they explain it?
Given Chloe's age and the fact that she had been experiencing a lot of problems for years, she knew exactly what she was being diagnosed for and knew straight away and researched the diagnosis with us. And I think the first thing she said was just what a huge relief it was that there was actually a name for what it was that she had. And at the age of 12, there's no hiding what you're being, that you're being tested and all of that sort of stuff. So we were very open from the beginning.
Are there any ways that you know that your daughter is uncomfortable and is it okay to approach for help?
Yeah, I can certainly tell Chloe if Chloe's uncomfortable, which is usually in a group setting. If we're at a big party or wedding or group thing, I can see she'll often go and sit in the corner or wander off by herself and maybe pull out a book or sort of sit facing the wall, and I can see that she's overwhelmed by whatever it is that we're doing. And I will usually go and ask her, how she's going. Usually she'll say, I just want to go home. Sometimes we can extend it a little bit by if we've bought her lap blanket or an iPad or something for her to watch, or we can find a quiet space for her to sit and curl up and read her book. If not, then we know that it's probably time to go home before she gets too upset.
Stop everything. What's your experience with school? And would you recommend mainstream or distance education, bearing in mind that not one size fits all?
School was so hard. School was awful for Chloe, absolutely awful. We tried so many different schools for her before she was diagnosed, and then
I think.
After she was diagnosed, hoping that we would find one that was accommodating for her needs and teachers that were understanding and flexible, and unfortunately it just didn't happen. We tried the Catholic schools, the Christian schools, the private schools, the public schools, and things just got worse and worse until Chloe was just a total breakdown point for school. She would hide in the toilets crying every day at school. She'd come home crying. She didn't have a single good day. She was bullied relentlessly, and school was just a living hell for her. It was actually her psychologist who said to us at about the age of 13, what are you waiting for? You need to pull her out of school and homeschool her immediately. And my first reaction was like, oh my gosh, I am not a homeschooling mom.
We kind of had the impression that homeschooling was like what hippies did.
And I just did not want to do it. But I quickly realised that that was the only thing that was going to be able to work for Chloe. Homeschooled her, and it was the best thing that we ever did.
I think as well though, with the question of would you recommend, bearing in mind that not one size fits all.
Yeah.
I think sometimes homeschooling is going to make it worse for some kids, and I think it completely depends on who you are and the kid and the school as well, because obviously some schools can be fantastic and really accommodating, but all the schools that we went to just happened to not. And I think even if they were a autism friendly school, I still wouldn't have gotten that support that I needed, because my idea of needing support and help and feeling safe and comfortable was being at home and was not being around a school environment. Yeah,
and I think on that as well, one of the biggest things that I see parents ask all the time, they ask me and they ask Chloe, and it's such a misconception. They say, oh, our professional or our teacher or our principal or psychologist or whatever said that they're already struggling so much with the social side of things, it's going to make it so much worse if you pull them out of school. That is such a lie. And I've heard Tony Atwood speak on it as well, and it's just, once they're comfortable in their own surroundings, even if it's at home one-on-one with mum or dad or whoever's going to be homeschooling, they're able to have enough energy and emotion left over to be able to socialise in environments that they want to.
That we want to be.
Yeah, so being bullied at school is not being socialised. Being totally scared every day and frightened and hiding in the toilets is not being social. So for Chloe, within months of being homeschooled, she was actually more social than she'd ever been in her whole life, because she wasn't using up all this emotional energy at school. And we got her into pony club and youth group and drama and singing classes and art classes, and into a lot of things where she was surrounded by like-minded people who weren't bullies, who enjoyed doing the same kinds of things that she did, and all of a sudden her social life was like amazing.
Social butterfly for the first time in my life.
Exactly.
I definitely think getting into groups is definitely a better way to be able to help socialise, because I find it easier to talk to people, and I think everyone does, whether you're on the spectrum or not. It's easier to talk to people if they have the same interests as you, if they have the same things as you. For someone that already finds it so hard to socialise, it's so much easier if you're in a group with so many other people that are similar to you, and it's like you have something to talk about. You already have a conversation started. You don't have to think of that awkward, how do I become friends with them, because you're already there for the same reason anyway. Were your parents ever strict with you at all because of your diagnosis? I certainly wouldn't say you were strict with me. Like,
no, a lot more forgiving, but probably wrapped her up in cotton wool a lot more because we realised her limitations.
Yeah, I don't think strict is the word. I think it's just now you understood what was happening, so it was easier to kind of take action of that, I guess.
Right. And knowing that she was naive and vulnerable, and that continued to get more so as she get older, that she needed more, I wouldn't say strict, but more protecting is the word, I think.
Yeah. What Aspie things did Chloe do as a kid, and how can I diagnose it in my own kid?
Well,
where do we start? Where's the book?
When we first started researching Asperger's or high functioning autism, you know, we were given the lists, and we were Googling, and we were like, yep, everything that they were talking about Chloe had done as a child. We just didn't realise there was a name for it. So little things from Chloe needing to have every single tag cut off, every single item of clothing, not being able to wear certain fabrics, not being able to wear tight or scratchy clothing, not being able to stand certain noises like vacuum cleaners or hand dryers in public toilets, being really particular about foods not touching each other, food being white, food, you know, a lot of sensory kind of issues, hiding under a lot of things, like what I now realise is the weighted blanket type of thing. She would pile all of her soft toys on top of her in a mountain, lining things up, going to bed with encyclopedias instead of kids' books, researching facts and being a little walking encyclopedia. So all of the things that we kind of now realise are early symptoms of ASD, Chloe certainly did. I just didn't realise. I just thought I had a quirky genius child. And I do have a quirky genius child. She just happens to
also have Asperger's.
Have ASD.
I guess that kind of goes into the next question, which, did you ever think she was different?
Well, Chloe was our first child, and we were relatively young parents and didn't really have anything to compare her to. But I think particularly the older she got and the more I started looking at other people's children of the same age, I was like, yeah, she's quite different. And yeah, I didn't realise that it was different with a name. I just thought she's just different.
Just quirky,
quirky.
And I think I felt the same thing. Like, I didn't really realise I was different until I started seeing other people and going, oh, you know, I don't really do that, or they don't do what I do. What is the best and the hardest part about having a kid with Asperger's?
Definitely that you've got a child who is a little bit different than norm, someone who's creative and quirky and unusual and sees things in a totally different way. The hardest part, especially the older you get, is knowing that the world is just not equipped for somebody who looks like a normal 19-year-old girl but is very different, and trying to get the world to understand that people can look totally normal and expect them to function like a normal 19-year-old would, but inside they're very young and very naive and very vulnerable. That's probably, I think, the hardest part, is just how other people deal with them. Society, teachers who just don't understand, professionals, health professionals. That's the hardest part.
I thought you were going to say something.
About your messy room.
Yeah,
no, that's just a teenage thing.
Yes, go down to that one. Is there anything that you wish you had done differently when Chloe was a child, now that you know that she has Asperger's?
I would have pulled her out of school a lot earlier, because I just realised that, and she still talks about it now, Chloe won't step foot inside a school. She cringes when we drive past schools. She hates schools. She won't go to our other kids' school concerts. She won't go to their art exhibitions or their plays or anything because she won't step foot inside of school. She was so badly traumatised by school, and I guess I didn't realise how bad that was, and that's why I say to people all the time who question me about it, if it's that bad, then pull your child out, even if it's only for a little while. Just pull them out, because mental health is so much more important than anything. Sometimes
I wish I was able to spend a day in my daughter's world, experiencing the world how they see, feel and hear it. How do I challenge them out of their comfort zone without it being too much?
I think from a parent's perspective, something I've learned is that yeah, we can challenge them a little bit, but we have to understand that we're not going to change them. We have to change their world and their environment for them. If they need a day where they're laying on the iPad under 100 blankets and a dog on top of them and to be away and quiet from the world, there is no point trying to drag them out of that. That's what they need. And yeah, we need to adjust our thinking more than trying to encourage them to address their thinking.
I think as well, like, it's definitely important to be able to encourage your kids to be able to take that step out. Hey, try this and try that, and if it goes well, then that's fantastic. You've added another stepping stone to their building. But if they don't want to do it, definitely don't force them to do it, because you're going to make a lot more damage than you're going to build up anything. Did family or friends ever question your diagnosis, tell her that it was wrong, or try to fix it?
Definitely not family. Earlier on in the piece, we had maybe people question how we went about getting a diagnosis, and that she looks so normal, and we're all
she doesn't look like she has autism.
Because people have a preconceived idea of what autism is like. They think Rain Man or
Forrest Gump
or
Sheldon Cooper. She doesn't look
and
like
the thing that people don't realise is that ASD is such a broad spectrum, and that each person presents so differently. Yeah, we didn't get it much. I do know it's very common. The most common thing I get is, wow, you'd never guess that now. And I say that's because, you know, Chloe is amazing, and she has come such a long way the last few years. She is so different to what she was when she was first diagnosed, and that's due to, you know, a huge number of factors. But yeah, I mean, not too much.
How do you differ from the younger version of yourself, and is there anything that you grew out of? I think most
No.
of my... No! No, but I'm still the same as I was when I was 4.
She still dresses up in princess
Yeah,
costume.
I think if anything, I know this probably isn't going to sound like the most reassuring thing, but I think if anything, my quirks have probably gotten more advanced. I think they haven't gotten advanced. It's just that other kids grow out of their quirks and I don't.
The gap does get bigger. You know, I remember thinking when we were first diagnosed, oh, you know, things will get better as she gets older and stuff, but no, they don't. They actually the gap gets wider. I won't say it gets worse, but the gap gets wider because the other 19-year-olds are kind of growing ahead and getting mature and getting jobs and going to university, and Chloe's kind of still stuck down here. So a lot of the things that were kind of acceptable when she was younger, like playing with ponies or sleeping with 50 teddy bears or, you know, walking around in princess costumes, other kids kind of started to grow to them, but Chloe kept going with them. So I think in a lot of ways the gap widens, and it does become more obvious that they have something different about them, whatever that is.
So yeah, I don't think I've really grown out of anything, and I don't think I've grown more things. It's literally just that my quirks weren't as noticeable when I was a kid, because every kid has quirks.
Yeah.
Every kid doesn't want to eat green food or doesn't want to wear certain clothes or this or that, and then they kind of matured and got out of that, and I was kind of
and she's still there.
stuck there. And I don't think that's a bad thing. No. I think it's just, you know, everyone's different, and some differences just happen to be more over the top than others.
Yeah.
Are you able to manage having Asperger's more easily now that you're an adult? I think, again, like what you were saying before, how society kind of sees it, like when you're an adult, it's a lot different. I don't really see it as something to manage, because it's just me, it's who I am. Like, my quirks and my strengths and weaknesses are all part of Asperger's, and it's all part of me. So I don't think it's really something to manage or to, you know, sort out. But I think it is a lot harder to cope in society when you're an adult, whereas when you're a kid, because when you're a kid, you have your mum to look after you, and I still have my mum to look after me, but
it's more normal for a mum to advocate and speak on behalf of a
child. 4-year-old as a...
Yeah, and we've had a couple of incidences in the last year where Chloe's been in hospital, and, you know, suddenly she was in an adult's ward instead of the children's ward, and all of a sudden people are looking at me like, why are you here all the time? Why are you here when we're doing things to her? That's harder to understand, and I have to keep repeating myself over and over that she has ASD, and that's what we're finding difficult, is just how community and society...
How other people manage it.
Yeah. She's not the problem.
They're the issue.
I loved a quote, I think it was Tony Atwood who said it, kids only have autism when they leave the house, and I totally get that, because Chloe can just be herself when she's at home, and she's just who she is, and it doesn't matter if she's walking around in a fairy dress singing and doing whatever she wants to do.
Cuddling my 58 teddies.
Yeah, and it's only when she goes out that we kind of notice that other people are looking strangely or expecting her to be different to what she is. And so I think, you know, at home, in the safety of their home, and I think this is really important for ASD kids to be able to just be themselves around home and friends and family, and not have to strive so hard to be fitting in, which is what they have to do so much on the outside world.
And the last question is, what do you wish the community knew more about autism?
Oh, I think we've probably pretty much just answered it. I think that they need to know.
On that alone.
Yeah, you could. I think that they have to know that it's such a broad spectrum, and that, you know, yes, most ASD kids or adults, you would never guess that there was something different about them. You know, they do look normal because they are normal. They don't have 3 heads or
not that you know of
anything like that to make it obvious that there is something different about them. And so the really hard thing, I think, with society is for them to understand that, you know, while that it might not be noticeable to them, that internally and inside there might be so much stuff going on which they can't see. And, you know, even at school, if teachers are thinking, oh, well, you know, it looks like they should be able to do it, they don't understand the stress and the meltdowns that come at home, and just how tough day-to-day life can be for a kid or an adult with ASD living in a world which is not really equipped to cope with somebody with ASD, and just to have more understanding and more systems in place to help and protect people.
As a community, as a society, I think it's really important that we do put a stronger light on the invisible disabilities, the ones that, I don't really like to call it a disability, but like the invisible, you know, the things that people don't see. Because everyone knows about Down syndrome, and everyone knows about even more advanced autism, like low functioning autism. Like everyone knows what that is, even if it has got a bit of a stigma attached to it. Nobody really knows what Asperger's is. Even if I tell someone, oh yeah, I've got Asperger's, like, what's that? No one knows what it is. And if they do know what it is, they have a really negative, bad stigma around it. So I just think, it's really important that we're shedding a light and we're shedding what it actually is. And there's so many people that have got it which don't have someone to be that person for them. They don't have someone to
advocate for them. And I think another really important thing is to say, you know, there's also a misconception that all people with autism have some crazy genius gift, like, you know, a Mensa IQ and stuff like that. And that's certainly not the case, and that's certainly not the case for Chloe. But all people with ASD, like neurotypical people, are good at things and do have amazing strengths and talents and gifts. And I think our job as parents, you know, with all of our kids,
to not focus on the negative things.
Yeah, so like we do this with, you know, we have to do this with all our kids, but really in particular with ASD kids and adults, where they really struggle with some basic day-to-day things, to really emphasise and encourage them in their giftings, and to really you know, highlight those and encourage them to do those things and not worry too much about the things. You know, Chloe is 19. She still can't read a clock. She still can't do basic timetables. She finds basic routines and day-to-day hygiene and things really difficult. And I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, but I have to help her do all those things. I have to encourage her, you know, to do the most basic of tasks that my 8-year-old son wouldn't have any problem with. But the things that she's great with, you know, her singing and her acting and her photography and her artwork and her songwriting and all of the things that she's amazing at, she's outstanding. So who cares if she can't read a clock or, you know, doesn't remember to brush her teeth unless I come and actually tell her to do them. It really doesn't matter in the scheme of things. I think it's more important as a human being to have some amazing creative genius talents that are exciting and fun and make the world a better place than knowing how to read a clock. Because everyone can do that.
Except me.
Except me.
Thanks, Mum. That is all the questions we have got. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, whatever makes you feel good. If this was a video that you enjoyed and you would like to see more of, send in more questions, post them below, post them on my page. Get my mum in to do something else soon. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!
I say, if you bark, celebrate it, make your mark, serenade it, Noah's Ark, should have had a cat like you.